I'm live.
Everybody is.
Hey,
Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order. We'll start with the weed department.
Okay, there's nothing really literally different on my budget, except I put the wages up because it's just an estimate, you know, there's 9 people on that payroll, so I put that up. And I knocked down vehicle purchase by $5,000. So, it's basically the same budget. My weed board hasn't seen it yet because we had a little trouble with haying season and I didn't want to call a meeting.
Well, how, your, wages are less than they were last, well, you were at 279, now you're at 275.
Yeah,
Where do you see 275?
requested for
Requested
2025.
2025.
Second.
300,000.
oh, she has a different.
You got a different paper now.
You have a different paper? What's yours?
That's what we
Yeah,
have.
no, that's not the one. Remember, we had trouble when I sent this over?
Oh, okay, maybe it's. the
Maybe
back
it's just,
So
yeah.
300,000?
300,000.
one. Okay,
That makes more sense.
we can mark it on here.
Is there any other changes that we would have?
And then bottom line is,
So chemicals are,
the bottom line one is 25,000. And it was 30,000 last year, so I'm gonna assume that was wrong on that too.
No, our vehicle purchases are correct on here.
Okay.
you said you went down 5.
Yeah, it went down.
5,000, Yeah,
Okay.
You don't have a uniform on here.
uniform,
Do you guys do uniform
Under
shirt
safety.
it goes under miscellaneous
Oh,
versus miscellaneous?
or safety supplies,
Cause it,
but we buy those yellow shirts when we have a new
Well, these
hire.
are different ones that mean for the county must be doing.
yep. So these ones, Diane, these are for, like, if you guys put like your,
Like what you
cost
have on.
share days. Yeah, Jamie and Kane go to a conference, you do cost share days, like if you wanted to get them polos or a jacket or something, just so when
Oh.
they go places.
Like what you have on.
Yep,
I get them a sweatshirt every year,
okay, and
No.
you take it out of,
miscellaneous.
okay. Maybe we should, just for clarity, I could do a uniform
Mhm.
line item, and if it is a safety vest or something, that would still come out of safety,
Sure,
but, okay.
yeah.
What do we need to put in there
So
for 3 people,
For.
2 people, or?
You got,
325 or 275.
you got all the,
No, three is right.
you gonna do the summer help too, or?
I don't think, do they do meetings and stuff or?
Cause I think all the other ones were kind of like the department heads or,
Yeah.
so I'm,
But I always get my summer help a sweatshirt. Cause then they use them, you
Well,
know,
they're
those
working
early
with-
mornings get cool.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And once you wear shirts with chemical.
Yeah.
They're kind of, you want to wear them,
Yeah, that's a little different.
yeah.
So your
what else?
chemical last year is 160, you're staying at
160?
you're staying at 160. Yeah.
Mhm.
And does that
So
include your grasshopper stuff?
No.
Is that a separate line item?
I don't have a line item for that. That was a special ask.
Okay, are you,
That's capital funds. So.
There's not gonna be grasshoppers next year. We can hope.
there'll be monster ones.
Yeah, that was a
So,
Okay.
way after the fact ask, you know,
And
like.
you're just
in May.
administering the sale of it or handling it.
Yeah,
so would you rather have that in your budget, that you can have that money set aside for a program, a grasshopper program, or would you rather come to us next year and request it?
I would rather come to you
Okay,
because not every year do we have, you know, last year was so bad. You know, and not every year is gonna be that bad for hoppers. And so between NDSU, myself, the weed board, you guys to decide, are they bad enough to offer a program? I'd rather it not become the norm.
Otherwise, it'll be normal for them guys.
Right.
Yep,
Okay.
that's fine.
Yeah, I think so too.
But this is strictly weeds. Okay,
The 160 is strictly weeds.
okay.
And then usually in September, I order a boatload of chemical because it's like, some years it's 7, some years it's 10% off. Then they don't have to store it, we store it,
Right.
and we get a better deal on it.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sally, you had the general fund?
Yeah,
Oh, we have copies?
yeah, I made copies. Here, Tracy, here's some for you. There's,
Oh,
they all
okay.
go together.
Okay.
Yeah, because I did the Fund 40 on the back. You guys
Okay.
go.
Yeah, that's,
There's two sets here. Wait till you guys get them.
Which one are you starting with?
The general.
Okay.
Okay, so at the top of the first page for the general fund, that's just going through what everybody proposed today. So that'll stay the same. But when you get down to group insurance, that's pretty much stayed the same. We've had a reduction in employee base too, so that's kind of helped keep that the same. So that's not going up. Building permits, I spoke with Sandy about that. She thinks they're going to be pretty high next year. So we went up from 10,000 to 30,000. Then Indy PERS, that'll kind of go up a little bit. That's a life insurance that we pay. Workers' comp, kind of left that about the same. I budgeted 62 last year, 64 this year. Yeah, you just kind of don't ever know about that. Unemployment, same thing. I'm right now with unemployment, we're at 15,000, but I don't know we'll hit the 30,000 mark. But again, you just don't know with unemployment where we're going to be. EAP, village professional fees, those have gone down. I think there was something else in professional fees at one time, but now it's just the village. So that's at 3,500. Audit fees, they're going up a little bit. They'll be 35,000 this next year. We don't do county cares, or, let's see, the rent I think is in a different place. Oh, that's, yeah, rent. We don't pay anything anymore. Telephone, that's actually gone down because we're getting the new phones and we have got rid of a bunch of the phones that we weren't using anymore. So that's kind of nice. Printing and publishing, that's a tough one because that kind of goes up and down as well. So I just kind of left it the same. Postage, for the general fund postage, I just left it at 2,500. I know it's going to go up and down, but what happens with our postage machine in the mail room is at the end of the year, we run a report and then we put the postage into the respective accounts. So everybody's postage reflects what they spend. Yep. Let's see, association dues, they went up a little bit, not much. NDACO dues are the same. WDA dues are the same. Township Association dues did go up a little bit this year. So then here's what I've done for the IT. We used to have it all just under one, but it's really hard to keep track of what we're paying in support, what we're paying in new computers, programming and software, and miscellaneous. So I kind of split those out. Tech support for NRG did go up this year. Computer replacement, I have it $70,000 next year. I'm not sure it will be that much because I think we got a little bit ahead this year, which is good. Programming and software isn't going to change that much until 26, because 25, we still have to have CPT for the tax side. And we're doing Tyler just so we can start melding them together. And then there'll be a period of time where we have the two GIS systems until we get move from one to the other. Yep. So that one, I'm just going to leave there. May not be that much, but it may. Miscellaneous hardware for computers, I've built that in for things like when something breaks down in here and maybe we need new brackets or we need the new piece to put the USB port in.
Or
Yeah, the cords, things like that. Yeah, the cords. I know we don't like miscellaneous, but it is all hardware that has to do with what we already have in the building, just if we need something replaced. Miscellaneous with the general fund of 6490, that's different little things. Like sometimes we will put the commissioner dinner there and things like that. Then abatements pretty much are going to stay the same. Longevity did go down a little bit because we've had a few people retire, so that's gone down. Have more new people now. The housing will stay the same at 2,000 for their miles and the housing authority meetings. Yep. And then the contributions. I was talking to Commissioner Dalzell and we thought maybe this would help alleviate some of the miscellaneous if we did contributions and put in there things like the commissioner dinner instead of put it in a miscellaneous, then we know what we're doing with it. It would be better than a miscellaneous. So we're kind of see how that plays out this year. And we can probably get rid of the miscellaneous fund altogether and just have it be the contributions, because that's usually what it is that goes in there.
So I have a quick tech support and equipment. So we have computers listed separate.
Oops, that should just be tech support, Tracy.
Okay.
Sorry.
So the
Yep,
130,000 is just what we pay in our.
NRG.
There.
Yep, for their support. Yep, oops,
Which
sorry.
is less than if we paid,
IT person. Yep.
which that's.
And then for the direct and indirect costs of social services, a lot of that it's going away. So I cut those down pretty far. There might be a point where we have maybe $2,000 in combined in the direct and indirect. It's just how we're moving towards billing and spending. Most of what we have in there are repairs on the vehicles, the county vehicles. So that's mostly what's in there. They pay for their own fuel now, but we pay for the upkeep of the vehicle. Public safety, again, those are just the different departments that we went over today that they proposed. I have built into the budget. I'm not really done with it yet because I still have to get all the numbers plugged in there, but we normally transfer to the road department at the end of the year. So I just did the same as last year. I just did 40,000. So that'll kind of bring up their ending balance.
Or is it,
Oh, 40 million. Oh my God.
no, but is it 30 million?
We did 40. Yeah, we did 40
Yeah,
last year
30.
and the 30 the year before.
But
so-
next year 30?
Oh, does yours say?
Yeah, you got 30 and then 40 below it.
Oh my gosh. It's
Your
40.
computer didn't add right.
Yeah,
So you're gonna
not
keep
today
it
at all. I think we should keep it at 40. Yeah,
Leave it at 40.
yeah, leave it at 40.
Oh, yeah.
I see what you mean. Okay. Then social security match and PERS retirement, that pretty much stays the same. It doesn't really go up or down. It just depends on the number of employees and salaries. Yep. So that increases. Then the next one, the Roosevelt Custer, they have increased theirs. They're usually 9,450. They're asked, Roosevelt Custer
Yearly.
yearly. And normally we give them 9,450. This year they're asking for 11,450.
It's been 94.50 for
Long
10
time.
years.
Mhm. And then planning and zoning, of course, they presented their own, JDA. The Fair Board, again, is requesting, a fourth of, or a mill. So that, yep, that's what the mill is worth this year. It's 93,434. And then, property and liability insurance premiums, those are going up because that has a lot to do with that state, fire and tornado I was telling you guys about, increased 30%. Insurance claims, we had quite a bit of them this year with deer and, things like that in the winter. So for vehicles, deductible, yep. So I just went up a little bit on that one to 25. I think I budgeted 10 last year and I think we're going to be closer to 15 or 20 because of all the incidents. And then just other transfers that we normally build in. JDA, that Carrie was talking about today, I've got 130,000 for them. The building fund, 300,000 is what we transferred last year, and that seemed to do really good for them. We don't have to transfer to the Southwest Correction anymore. Veteran Service Officer, 20,000. Emergency Management, 75,000, and the Weed Department, 100,000. And those just kind of fluctuate depending on what their budget looks like after I plug the numbers in. So that's not exactly concrete yet. Just depends on what gets approved and when I plug them in, how that goes. So those numbers may change a little bit. And just another thing to note, for you guys, the unorganized special roads fund, there's a House bill. We have to, close out that fund, which is not a big deal. What's in there right now is the road department's salaries. And to, fund that, we use the, oil and gas money, the, county roads to township fund goes in there. So it just kind of washes each other out. So we'll just make those, 14 funds instead of 11 and move those in January. So you guys are aware of that. Any questions so far? Just a lot of this is just preliminary right now. And like I said, until we get the other numbers plugged in, and I just kind of started filling this in. So
So the middle column is kind of where you're guessing will be at the end of the year.
yep. Yeah. And I printed out the receipts ledger from January to June, and I just kind of used that to go by. And then the back page, you guys, on the capital projects funds 40, down in the expenditures, I did add the sheriff vehicles that Gary requested. I have in there 150,000 for 2 vehicles, purchased. I don't know that we're gonna need county vehicles, but just in case, we have $150,000 in there to purchase a vehicle. Counting building projects, I just estimated maybe 10 million I put in there. I don't know if we're gonna move, how we're gonna move forward. We can always, move it around. This is just kind of what we've done in the past. Of course, this is all up to you guys. It's your decision. I just put some things in there that we normally do.
5.
Mhm. And then the non-departmental projects, 150,000, and sometimes what comes out of there, if departments need other furniture or they have to do a small, like a remodel, they want to move something, a lot of the times that comes out of that non-departmental. Sunrise Youth Bureau and Domestic Violence Center, I put those in the donation section this year. So Sunrise Youth Bureau requests 1/3 of a mil, and Domestic Violence Center requested 30,000. And then I added the school bond relief. We've done it for the past couple years. Last year we did 7 million. So I just put 7 million this year. We were gonna do 8, but we changed it
So
to
this
7
should actually be 7.
Yeah.
because We already paid it out.
because we
Yep.
paid it
So
out.
instead of 8 here. it's
Yeah,
7.
it's 7.
So that leaves 24 million.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So that's just some of the things I had in there for you guys. Again, it's all your guys' decisions,
so-
but I didn't.
So 1/3 of a mil,
It's gonna be different.
yeah, it's gonna be.
Yeah,
a little
because it went
30,000.
up.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
about 31.
Yeah. Yep.
Can you on the water resource change that to 750,000?
Yeah, so on the bottom, you guys, that is, we're projected to get 700,000 from state aid. And so I know that, so that's just state aid money. I know everybody was kind of throwing around how we would like normally fund the Water Resource Board. Soil conservation, we usually give 50,000 because it supplements their budget, so they have to do less mills. Same with the airport authority. They can claim 4, but we give them 2 out of state aid, so they only do 2 mills, so it kind of helps keep taxes down. The veteran service officer, weed, the senior citizens, we usually put 10,000 in there for them. Extension office, we subsidize with 75,000. Those are just, again, numbers that we normally do that we can play with. But as far as the Water Resource Board, if you guys were going to ask for that, we could take it out of the 40 fund. Out of donations.
You
That's,
could always take it out of the other account too, that donations.
yep. Yep. So we could take it
They'll
out of
be,
oil and gas too.
They'll be on
On the 7th.
To
Yeah.
present.
Yeah, Mike's gonna come in and present the airport and water resource board together on the 7th. So any questions so far? You guys, again, this is all just preliminary until we really start nailing down some numbers, and we can always move things around. Those go out August 31st. That's the deadline. They have to be mailed that day. So I would, usually, I believe I have the,
Ours shouldn't look that bad.
no, I think we may even be able to go down a mill in the general.
See, they're,
Fund.
they're talking about getting rid of all the levies too.
What's that?
They're talking about getting all the levies, like even like the school. They're levied, they can only go to 60 or they gotta be there. They're talking about getting rid of that stuff.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Another thing, you guys, I wanted to note, when I did the commissioner's budget, I only had 3% in there for you guys instead of the 3% COLA and a 3% merit. I don't know how you guys wanted to do that, so I just bumped it up to 6%, and then you guys can decide from there, but it took it from 192 to 198, so I'll make those corrections as well.
193.
What was it, 193?
What
No,
did
you're
you
at
say?
198.
Oh, yeah.
One day.
Okay, that's what it
Yeah.
was. I thought you said 93.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Yep.
Was that,
There,
had we decided that for all elected officials last year, that whatever the merit part would apply to the all elected officials, right?
Believe so, yes.
Because, I mean, there's us, but there's also, you know,
Sure
Lisa
that-
and Gary.
Area.
yeah, and they had that in their budgets, correct?
Yeah.
Is there anything else? No, we'll take recess until, or is there? Oh, okay. Take recess until 2:40.
That would be adjacent to the river.
You have to be.
It
Yeah.
says,
That makes sense so special. Adjacent to, yeah. Not living, but land.
arrow lights on it.
Oh, well, there you go.
Bob Hanson.
Good luck there.
This is me. Maybe. We're, Mike, okay.
Are you ready to be live?
Okay, we'll call this meeting back to order. I guess we'll let you guys kind of explain what you got going on with the application that you turned in.
I'm prepared to give a,
Can you
Oh,
talk? into
can you
the mic?
talk into the mic,
Yeah,
please?
sorry.
Just pull it
You can
over.
pull it
Pull it
Go
over.
ahead, Pia.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull this over if you don't mind. And I've got a presentation that I can show.
Oh, you might have to click.
Other one.
Look at that.
And then you should be able to find.
Yeah,
Yes.
you might have to change.
I think we got to do it up here.
On that one, yep.
You have to figure out which.
Tell me all that.
There it is there. Right. Right, so we'll go from here.
Oh,
think,
Oh.
okay. Do I just click on
Yep.
this?
Yep.
Okay. So my name's Dave Hibbs. I'm the Service Dam Safety Officer for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and I'm here to talk to you about Lake Ilo Dam. So I'm going to do a real quick overview, talk about the Lake Ilo Dam Rehabilitation Project, what the issue is, what the fix is, and what the timeline is. The original dam was constructed in the mid-1930s. Modifications to the dam occurred in the 1990s. And main features of the dam is on the left side of the dam is the auxiliary spillway. The service spillway is located on the right side, which you can see in the inset picture right there. And I'm going to hold on just until we get a little bit.
Then we'll click on that.
Do you want me to continue or just,
Just pause for a second.
Check that
yep.
with you.
Yeah,
I'll pause. Yep.
I'm trying to maximize this for all the people here.
Okay. Yep.
I double clicked. Anybody else got any?
No idea.
Right click on that mouse once. Do you have an option then?
This right here?
No, on the, yeah, just use your mouse, right click.
Tried that. Let's see, share.
It's Desi here. She's smart.
What's that PowerPoint live on the bottom? Whoops.
I hear
Oh,
you.
Down, down.
But
That's
not
not
an
off.
option.
An option.
There.
Oh, there you go.
Look at. Genius.
Good job.
You're hired.
So I'm just going to back up and start over again. My name is Dave Hibbs. I'm the Service Dam Safety Officer for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. My background is I'm a civil engineer with geotechnical background, and I've been doing dam safety for over 20 years. I'm located out of the Falls Church, Virginia office of headquarters, and I'm here to talk to you about the Lake Ilo Dam.
You were up here a couple times last year.
I'm sorry.
Were you up here a couple times last year?
Yes, I was here previously. So real quick, I'm going to give you an overview of the dam, Lake Ilo Dam rehabilitation, the issue, what the fix is, and the timeline. Primary issue is seepage that occurs in the right abutment. You can see in the slide there, it says limits of the prominent seep. That was discovered after we did a comprehensive review of the dam, where we did a in-depth look at the dam to try and determine what might actually cause this dam to fail. An area that was noticed as a wet spot had always been there. And so we were kind of concerned about that once we started looking at the historical records of the dam. We recommended observation in the area. The staff recorded an observable amount of flow coming out of there. So at that point, we started a emergency action plan and risk reduction measures to reduce the risk to the downstream safety of the community. So why is the dam seeping there? There's 2 coal seams. Actually, there's more than 2 coal seams, but there's 3 that are indicated in this graph here, where we have a cross-section profile of the dam at that abutment contact area. You can see the coal. It's a softer coal than what we have in the East Coast. And what's happening is water is passing from the reservoir through that coal seam because these lenses are horizontal plates that extend up into the reservoir. So you actually have a path for water to flow from the reservoir through the coal seam, and that's what we observed. What we observed is an increase in seepage flow, and so that became a problem for us because that creates a pipe, and a pipe can create to an uncontrolled release of the reservoir and failure of the dam. So what is the fix? And I'm going to lean in here a little bit. Why is it necessary? Well, we want to be able to capture all the flow coming out of the dam so that we can direct it through a controlled outlet known as a point discharge location. We want to prevent any embankment material or material from the abutment contact area from being what's called plucked away by the seepage flow. We want to prevent the pipe from enlarging. And long-term, it allows us to safely monitor the seepage flows. We can look for increase in seepage flows and other conditions that may indicate that the dam is in distress again. So how are we fixing it? We're installing a filter wall. What you see is a plan view of the filter wall and then a blanket filter drain. The filter wall is a vertical wall that's cut through the material. It'll have a pipe laying in the bottom of it on a grade. Around that pipe will be a 2-stage filter. One is a larger aggregate, and the other is a smaller aggregate, a sand type ASTMC 33 sand, concrete sand. And then what that'll do is that'll allow the water to pass, but it won't allow filter or embankment material to actually enter the filter. So it prevents the pipe from getting larger. It controls the flow and allows us the way to measure it. There's a little bit more close-up view. Some of the excavations are going to be up to 25 feet deep from the top of the surface. You can see where we have some cleanouts and manholes installed. And that allows us to be able to go in and do 2 things. Make sure that the filter is performing correctly. And then long-term, make sure there's no damage to the filter because we can put a camera up it and make sure that all the connections are watertight and the joints are good. It's a slotted pipe. Slot sizes are defined by the filter stand. So when I say it's a slotted pipe, it's a PVC pipe that has vertical slots that are cut into it from the manufacturer that act as a screen, effectively preventing the sand from entering the pipe. The sand's too coarse. The sand prevents the embankment from entering the pipe because it's trapped in the sand. Additionally, we're going to put a filter blanket. It's a additional measure. And what that does is that prevents any unknown seepage points that may not have been discovered or may not have been captured by the filter wall to be captured. It's also constructed of ASTM 33 sand, and you can see the profile or the plan view of it right there and how it relates to the filter. It's what in our business we would call belts and suspenders point of view. It's an additional engineering measure that is in all modern construction for dams. I look at it as an insurance policy that is going to account for any other seepage that could occur. So now we're going to talk about timeline. Contract was awarded on June 17th to Tribal One. Tribal One is a small business contractor. Notice to proceed was issued on June 28th, and rehabilitation of the seepage will be completed in October 2024. I was actually on site today with the contractor, verifying the location of 5 test pits so we could verify the depth of material and the material encountered. So we dug 5 test pits out there with a excavator today, making sure. So they'll be starting work very soon. What we're going to see is a lot of activity once the contractor fully mobilizes. Public is reminded that this is an active construction site. We're asked to stay away for their safety. Okay, it's for the safety of the public and also of the workers, because this excavation, at some points it'll be up to 25 feet deep. So we'll need to make sure everybody is clear from it, and a lot of the heavy equipment moving around as they're pulling material, placing it to be moved off site. Government inspectors will be on site, and I'll be on site multiple times over the period of this project. So I'll be out in a couple of weeks again, and then a couple of weeks from there throughout the duration of the project. Be happy to address any questions at this time if you have any.
Mr. Chairman, so just to refresh my memory, in the 90s, what was done at that time, and why was it different than today?
In the 90s, they replaced the service spillway with a newer spillway. We fully didn't understand the geotechnical mechanism for the seepage flow on that right abutment. As an engineering discipline, we didn't understand what actually happens. And so it wasn't addressed at that time, and that's why it's being addressed now.
So I have a question about the coal vein. So can you go back to, it was one of your first or second slides? So is that, how deep is that? Because you said you're going down, what, 25 feet?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, the darker material, there's several veins of coal. We are actually out there today. Some of it I'll classify as a soft coal. I would define it almost as a peat type material, very frangible. You could take in your hand. A tea bag, opening up a tea bag is a similar material property. It's very easily destroyed and moved. Other parts of it were what would be considered a more traditional East Coast hard coal. But there are several seams there, depending upon the location of the, and what you're seeing here, let me back up here. What this is this is a cross section that shows locations as we put in instrumentation monitoring wells. And so those vertical well lines you can see right there. And when we put those in, we mapped what we thought was the coal surface based upon those lines. Today, when we were out there, we actually were able to verify some of those locations. So some of the coal seams are relatively thin less than 2-3 inches, and some of them are up to a foot.
Okay.
And what I mean, we did test pits. We went out and dug 5 holes along the alignment of what would be the alignment of this filter at varying locations so that we could determine what material properties were there.
And so how deep is that?
The coal ranged anywhere from being less than 4 feet deep above the surface of the ground, as deep as almost 22 feet. These are horizontal lenses. So a lot of easy way to look at it is a stack of books. And what you've done is you've cut through the books and you're looking at those lenses.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I do have questions. It's about what was on their application. So, there was 6 areas, that totaled to $1,530,000.
Mhm.
So of those 6, can you tell me which of these, are they in a list of priority wise or were they just listed?
I believe they're just listed.
Okay, so then my question is, since the dam is empty, of these 6, which ones would have to be done with the water being out? And what can possibly be pushed out? Or what's the significance of any of these? Because I don't know if one's more important than the other.
What I'll say is what has to be done in the dry is the question that you asked. Is that correct? What has to be done with
Yes.
lake level lowered right
Of
now?
these 6 that you're requesting funds for.
It's my understanding we're only requesting funds for the seepage. Is that correct, Todd?
Well, at this point. Which then would directly be some
Yeah.
funding out of our existing budget, which was earmarked for the seed to do some of the other important additives. So
Yeah.
basically our additive.
Can you talk into the mic, please?
Yeah,
It's for online.
In case someone's online.
So yeah, initially we were, the 1.3 million was to take care of some of these very important additives while we have a contractor in site and while the lake is drawn down. Subsequent discussions with members of the board and the park felt that it would be better to focus the funding towards the seep, which is the biggest safety concern right now, which we would gladly accept because that would basically displace some funding that we have earmarked for the seep to do some of these other really critical additive repair work.
Yeah.
And so to answer Dave's question, basically it's the list of additives minus the lowest priority ones, which was like the tree removal,
Yeah.
the emergency spillway, I think leveling of that area on the
left-hand side. Yeah.
Yeah, the north abutment.
So what we'll do is any money that is saved would then be used to prioritize those additional items. And then we would look at it from what point of work we could get that done. If we could get that done within this season, we would try to. Anything that would need to be done the next year would not be done in the dry.
I'm not sure that was very clear to me, but
It won't be done in October.
No, we'll be finished. The dam will be able to, start filling water up. Yes. Yeah. The primary reason for us not being able to have water behind the dam is the seep. So we're going to fix that. That's our number 1 priority.
but if you get additional funding to do these other 6 projects, would they be done this fall yet?
Not necessarily, because some of the instrumentation has what's called a long lead time. In other words, it takes a long time for the manufacturer to produce the instrumentation. We would have to have them, the dam would have to be brought back to its current condition, full. In other words, all the earthwork's done, And then we would have to mobilize a drill rig out there to sit on and drill down and put new instrumentation in. And that instrumentation allows us to monitor the fix that we've installed. So it is considered a key aspect. We'd like to have verification that what we've done is actually working correctly.
So next spring, it's gonna have to be dry to come in and do the instrument.
Not,
Part of-
no, the lake does not have to be dry, no.
Oh.
Because you're on the downstream face, you can operate, but it's quite often done.
Oh, okay.
So,
we'll-
I will-
Say, Dave, this is,
Okay.
this is Craig. Can I pop in for a minute?
Yeah, Craig Swedenborg is with our office, and Craig can answer his question a little bit better.
Okay.
Yeah, so, we have a number of items that were additives, and I think the point or the question was, what work can we do yet this year of those additive items that we would like to have complete? Because since we have the lake level low, now would be the opportune time to do it. And so I think the answer to that question is that we will have to reach back out to Tribal One, given where they are within the construction timeframe now, to see what reasonably they can still do yet this year before the snow falls. That being said, for those other items that we would not be able to complete yet, let's say by the end of this fall, the priority is the seepage, and that will be completed. But of those other additive items, we could then look at what could be done in the wet, basically with the lake levels full, which would be the instrumentation. But are there other items that we could still do, with the lake level full, but maybe making some modifications to the overall design to complete that? And so those are some items yet that we still need to have some discussion with the contractor on. But based upon what the original additives came in, we believe these are, relatively, good numbers to proceed with. However, for those items that cannot be done in yet this year that needed to be done in the dry, there may be some increases to those additives potentially.
Yeah, so what Craig is saying is correct. Tribal One is only under contract to fix the seep. If we would receive additional money, we would have to go back to Tribal One and have another discussion with them to be able to determine what costs they feel, it would take to do this new work that we're adding to the contract, because their current project is only to do the seepage.
So all of this that's sitting here is over and above what you've contracted with them? Is that what you just said?
That is correct. Right now, the only contract that we have with them is for the seep.
so
Did they give you these numbers?
I'm
This
sorry,
1.5 million?
did they give us those numbers? No,
This is just an
this is
Is an
a,
estimate?
estimate?
yes, based on engineering judgment from the design engineer and from our perspectives.
So I'd like to step in here. I'm Will Albrecht, Vice Chair of the Park Board, for those that don't know me. We met with Kathy and Todd on July 9th, our scheduled Park Board meeting, and they explained some of this stuff with the same things that we're talking about. And it was our recommendation that if they do come to you and ask for money, that it would be for the seepage, because the price is locked in, because there are advantages where right now there's estimates. And originally it was, we're not sure what these other items meant to the project. There was some jockeying about what was important. So we felt like, because it's a public safety issue, that we stick with, if you guys are going to approve this, that it be earmarked for the seepage and the dam safety itself. And then it would free up funds if they want to handle some of these other things, that they could. So that was our recommendation from the Park Board.
for what it's
So-
worth.
Say, Dave, can I pipe in again?
Yeah, go ahead, Craig.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So I've had discussions with our contracting staff, who are handling the contract. And so what we can do is we can allocate any funding that, if you deem to provide, we could allocate that towards the seat. We can do, what we would call an administrative modification to the contract to apply those funds to the seat. And then only government funds, to the additives, if that makes sense.
Well, what you're telling me is you have enough money to fix the seep.
That is correct. Right now, we have adequate funding to fix the seep. We do not have enough funding to do all the other measures that were listed.
Okay, back to my original question. Of these 6, which have to be done while there is no water in the dam?
I'll answer that by saying, and I don't have that exact list in front of me. But I'm going to say that there's the outlet works pipe. There is putting a sand filter around the outlet works pipe. That would be best done in the dry because it's the same method of putting the seepage wall in. You want to do that when the embankment is low or the saturation of the embankment is low. Thank you. The
Yeah,
gate
so-
structure stop log sill lowering, that would also be best if it was done in the dry. It can be done when it's not in the dry. It's just more difficult, and difficult means expensive in contractor world. The low level inlet repair and sloping trash rack, because those are actually out in the lake, that's where the water first enters that small pipe to allow water to be released if you do have an emergency situation. That would have to be done in the dry also. It can be done in the wet. It's just more difficult. You have to bring in a cofferdam. You have to build a miniature enclosure and then pump that dry. So it's more costly.
Yeah, and that would be both for the gate structure, the stop log structure,
Correct.
and the trash rack, where they would increase in cost if the lake levels were full due to the requirement that we would have to place a cofferdam around the area in order to do the work.
I'd like to add just that not only are certain additives advantage to take care of now because the reservoir is low, and Craig and Dave can chime in on this and correct me if I'm wrong, but there are, there's at least a couple of things that if we don't repair it now, maybe you can fill the reservoir back up, but maybe in the near future, we develop a worse problem, like the sort of spillway deteriorates even worse. Or
Correct.
all of a sudden we got another seep along the outlet pipe and we didn't do the filter diaphragm. So while you could do that work even in year 2, if you kick the can down the road too far, well, maybe then all of a sudden we're looking at another drawdown. And I think everybody would like to put that off as long as possible. We'd like to say we're solid for the next 30 years, right? So that's just another aspect of it, and why it's, I think, important to address these deficiencies now while we have a possibility of a partnership and getting it.
That's my concern when I ask if you're gonna be able to get these fixed
Right.
before next spring, because next spring is when that water's gonna be going back in there. So if you keep it dry next spring, that,
No, the intent is not to stop any flow from happening. We believe that we'd be able to do some of this work before the next flow would come in and start to fill the reservoir up. Yeah, that's the intent. We would work with the contractor, make sure that they had adequate resources. We have to approach them. We can't approach them right now. It's called an unfunded mandate. I can't go to them and have a discussion with them unless I have money to actually do the work.
So what happens if you go to them and they come back at $3 million instead of 1.5?
At that point, we would have to reduce numbers on the list and say, what is the priority for us? And that's easily done. We would be able to do that as a engineering group and say, this is, with this limited amount of funding, this is what we have to do.
So the way it seems to me, everything can be done drawing with the water being drawn down, other than the dam safety instrumentation.
Correct. Yeah.
And none of that would be done now because it would be after. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yes, ma'am. We would wait till next year to do that.
Well, you just said too that you don't even have that available. It would be, you have to go to the manufacturer. So if your intent was, so if you don't have that 500,000 and where are you gonna, how are you going to measure the safety of that dam if you don't have that instrumentation?
The additional instrumentation are new wells to be installed where their previous wells were being removed due to the alignment. Now, we can still measure the flow coming out of the seepage, and that's part of the system that we have and that's being constructed, is we have a way to monitor it using a weir plate. And it's rudimentary, but you basically put a bottle below the weir plate. You count 60 seconds. How fast does the bottle fill up? And it's very labor intensive. It's not the best method. It's open to error is another thing. It's open to error. So a automated instrumentation, a sensor, is actually more reliable for that type of work. It takes the human error out of it.
Yeah, and that automation would be on all, 17 piezometer wells, and they would be basically a predictor of what's, going on at the dam at that current time. And so instead of, relying on, taking monthly readings, we would have an actual data set that we could go off of and have in hand after every storm, so we could see what's happening at that, at Lake Ilo at that time, within a 15-minute interval.
And it's all publicly available information. This information isn't hidden. We use a system called HADS. It's with the NOAA. And so it's a website that anybody in the public could go to. They could pull up the dam. They could tell what the water level in the reservoir is. They could tell what the flow out of the seepage weir is. They'd be able to tell what the piezometers are. So it's a good product. It's not firewalled in any sense. It's open to the public. We use it on all of our high hazard dams that have it installed. It allows us to share that information not only with the public, but with our other dam safety partners like State of North Dakota's Dam Safety Program, and be able to get in there and look at that information also. It helps for planning when we know an event is going to occur. We can look at a meteorological forecast and we can start going in. And this information is automated. It's taken every 15 seconds usually, but what it only reports is every 15 minutes. So it looks for the data and it sends out the data. So I can get on my phone anywhere in the world and look up that data, and I would know exactly how the dam is performing. And so can anyone else.
So with the funds that you've secured so far, so is next year, are there any funds available that you could go after that 500,000 for that safety instrument, since it'll be put in afterwards anyway?
There are no funds available.
At this time, there are none.
I'll just add from a management perspective on just the instrumentation upgrades would be a tremendous advantage because we don't staff the refuge, and I don't see with projected budgets, I don't see us doing that or staffing it in the near future. So to have that kind of access, that real-time data to make management decisions on, to always know instantly what the surface and groundwater levels are is of quintessential importance for us.
How many do you have available right now?
For for the SEEP, for the SEEP work, basically, was it 5.2?
I believe Craig was the number 5.2.
Yeah.
It was just a hair over 5, and all that has been spent.
For the SEEP. Yeah, we have no excess funds.
Yeah, it's been spent for, the contract itself, design, and then, construction management.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman, just to move this along and any other discussion that may follow, I would move that the county grant the request of $1,530,000,
How much? Sorry.
$1,530,000 out of our federal mineral royalty fund for the repair of the seep on Lake Ilo.
Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second?
I'll second it for discussion.
Motion made by Commissioner Dalzell, seconded by Commissioner Pelton to donate,
To grant the request
grant the request of $1,530,000 to the repair of the seep on the dam
from
Right.
the federal mineral royalty fund.
from the Federal Mineral Royalty Fund.
So what's Dunn County gonna get out of this?
I'm sorry?
What's Dunn County gonna get out of this one?
Well, I think two major things. One is restored dam safety to the communities and properties downstream. And then secondly, restored recreational use of the reservoir, including the purpose and objectives of the National Wildlife Refuge. As a shared partnership, we both embrace the refuge. So I think it's a mutual benefit.
Then brought to me, there's a flagpole that needs to be done. Can we get that done?
It's
without all
done. It's already
did.
done. It's complete last year. Mr. Chairman, I know at the park board meeting here on the 9th, we did have a discussion with Kathy and Todd about, are there some things that can be, maybe worked out as long as they kind of fall within their overall management plan, but they are open to discussion on, certain requests. There's just some things that can't be done, but I know something was mentioned about swimming, but that's not a safe plan. And anyway, that was just an example.
Basically what we asked, we have a contract in place with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. And what we wanted to do was, if in the near future, we can renegotiate some of those terms.
Mhm.
Instead of asking out of the blue, can we do this and that, to have a sit down with whoever the people that are present for that negotiation, sit down, talk about maybe future plans that we might have, things that maybe we want to add, and discuss and have a give and take a little bit. And that was brought forth, and we talked about that. So instead of us asking for specific things, we would pursue those when we renegotiate the contract between the two agencies.
And when is that contract up for negotiation?
You're testing me, and I don't know dates or any of that kind of thing. I don't know how long. Oh, remember, yeah.
Is there a reason that hasn't been done prior to us coming to the table?
We had no real, how do we say it, reason at that point. We didn't renegotiate it on July 9th. We felt like We wanted to see what the climate was like from the commission. And it was more of a, what do you guys think about renegotiating if things go as planned with the commission? You know, because there has been issues brought up in the past to me as a park board member. Well, if we're going to do all this, what do we get and all that? And there's been all kinds of ideas, but we didn't feel like the negotiation could take place at that point. We felt like, I don't know what the process is, but I thought we could at least concentrate on the safety of the dam and then talk about renegotiating that memo of understanding.
Cause I understand what we're gonna get by getting water back in there. It's gonna help a lot of the landowners. It's gonna be good for a lot of things. But, you know, back to what you said with this instrumentation, you don't have funding to have somebody staff there. It's a really big inconvenience for you not to have that. Well, what can we, little things for us, make our community better? You know, we're gonna try to make your guys' jobs easier. What can you do for our community? Just small things, you know?
Are you gonna be willing to work with us?
Oh, we're always willing to work with you, and we've already been doing that with the park board, and we made a commitment that we will always be open to discussions and transparency and suggestions, and we can always examine and discuss, you know, additional uses. It's just we're required to examine them and follow the laws and the policies that are established for the refuge system. And so, you know, we have to look at things from compatibility standpoint, appropriateness, you know, environmental policies, cultural resource, all those sort of things. So those are things that just take time to vet out, but we're always open to those discussions. It looks like we're going to be entering a new planning area right now. We just had some habitat and species management policy passed, and so there'll be in the very near future additional updated planning occurring, and that's going to involve our stakeholders. We want to have them review and have input into it. So there'll be opportunities here in the very near future to consider some new uses. No guarantees, but we're certainly open to discussing those things.
So can you move forward and go talk to the contractor if this was amended that contingent on a new memorandum?
I don't, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah,
We have to do that afterwards.
Yeah, but I don't think
We don't want
that's,
to get in the middle of that now.
yeah. Unfortunately, we can't have any
Yeah.
conditions added
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
contribution. I mean, we certainly appreciate that position and we greatly appreciate the assistance, but yeah, I mean, adding conditions could be a deal breaker that this is a donation or grant or a contribution, however you want to frame this. Because of the level of funding is going to have to be approved by our director for us to accept it.
Mhm.
So if you start attaching conditions to it,
Yeah.
it could become problematic,
Well,
I
and
guess. So,
I guess I feel the, any kind of, you know, thing we might request, we're talking little things, you know, to the park area, so.
Yeah, maybe expanding some of the recreational opportunities as it fits into their mission statement as,
Yeah.
you know, so, and we really weren't organized, to answer your question, enough to start negotiating. We feel like we got to sit down with the park board and we need to like develop, okay, what do we really want instead of just throwing darts and see what's going to stick. So that's part of the reason why we haven't negotiated that.
Yeah,
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Marsh,
No.
Commissioner Dalzell,
yes.
Commissioner Pelton,
Yes.
Commissioner Beaner.
No.
Oh.
Okay, we'll have to wait until the next meeting because one commissioner's gone. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for.
Thank you.
Right now, there'll be no work done.
Well,
No,
No,
they can
they've,
proceed.
they've
Yeah, we're
already
still gonna
proceeding.
continue forward with the seat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what time is that community meeting tomorrow at 7 at High Plains? And that's basically to cover what you covered here? Okay.
Do you need us to?
I just thought we'd offer you the opportunity if you wanted to get up. I mean, it can be 5 minutes,
2 minutes?
however long you like, but
I guess I don't need to unless,
Um,
anybody else need to?
You
I
have
would
people from the
just-
park board that will be?
yeah, either myself or Will or somebody from the park board. It was our recommendation. Yeah, yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll need to, there's nothing
Move to
further.
adjourn.
Move to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Dalzell, second by Commissioner Marsh to adjourn. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
We're done?